everyone, and welcome to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Zitara.
Bonjour, citizens.
We are doing a French film, if that wasn't obvious from that shambles of an introduction. This is a science fiction movie podcast. Every week we get together, we talk about a science fiction film, and this week we are looking at Alphaville, directed by Jean-Luc Godard. The lesser of the Jean-Lucs, of course. Tara got all excited when I said Jean-Luc, and then
Jean-Luc
waited
Picard.
waited for bated breath for the word Picard, and then I was like, nope, Godard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I always set you up for.
I bet Jean-Luc Picard is a big Jean-Luc Godard fan, though. He loves the French.
Very possibly. So first thing I have to say about this movie, actually, or about the choice to do this, I will start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll warn you in the middle before we get to spoilers. The first thing I want to say, though, is that this was on our schedule because somewhere, like, this was on like a time travel list, so I thought it was part of our time travel season, and I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, it's getting on. I'm maybe like halfway through, and I'm like, so far. I mean, it's definitely sci-fi. There's definitely sci-fi stuff going on, but like, I'm halfway through, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like there's going to be any time travel. There's not a hint of time travel, anything. They're just going to have time travel at the end, or is going to be time travel this. So I don't know where I got this idea from. This was time travel related. Luckily, it was still sci-fi, so it was still something we could do in the show, and I wasn't just wasting time. But First point I want to make is this is not a time travel movie, so scratch that from the record.
It is set in another time. The future. Woo!
The retro future, because it's like, because it's maybe like just, well, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing, because it sounds like the world's changed a lot, but the technology and the way it looks, like they just shot it in like present day Paris. They just picked buildings that looked a bit more modern because of the glass designs and so on and so on. So it kind of has that feeling of just being right in the future, probably at the time when it came out. Obviously to us now it looks ancient, so nothing about it feels.
We're just saying modern buildings, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, yeah, every building's like this now. Like, like you almost have to go out your way not to find one that isn't like this. So. But yeah, so Jean-Luc Godard is the director, and I'll give my opinion on him in a minute. I'll give you the premise.
Yeah, you've got some feelings, huh?
I'll give you the premise so I can ask Tara the question first, because I like Tara opening up first with her opinion, because it puts her on the spot a little bit more. But so the movie is about a man who's sort of claiming to be an investigative journalist, but is actually a secret agent. His name is Lemmy Caution, played by Eddie Constantine, and he comes to Alphaville to just sort of like research it, but he's actually looking for someone like an investigator who's already been there before, and he's looking to try and take out Alpha 60, which is a computer which actually controls the town, and maybe to almost to a Big Brother level of control, and he is trying to figure out how to navigate the people of the town and the weird rules of the town, and ultimately try and take this thing down. He comes from what they call the outer countries. Alphaville's kind of on its own, and everywhere else is referred to as the outer lands or the outer countries. So that's the gist of the premise of the film. I will ask Z question. Tara, did you enjoy Alphaville?
Yes. I didn't think I would, because I fell asleep twice trying to watch it.
Yes, we had to reschedule this recording twice. We pushed it multiple times because Tara kept falling asleep.
I know, so it wasn't looking good, but each time I fell asleep, I would go back and watch it from the beginning, and yeah, I actually kind of liked it the more I watched it. So it's pretty good. I mean, it's not great. I know this movie has like a really high score on a lot of different sites, and I guess maybe it's ahead of its time, especially for a French film. But
especially for a French film.
I've watched a lot of French movies. I don't really like any of them. I don't. This one's okay.
I've got a couple of good ones you can watch. I've got some recommendations for you.
I know. I'm not haven't seen Diabolique.
Yes, yes,
I've
exactly.
seen a lot of Gerard Depardieu films.
Uh, but anyway, so here's the thing, right? Jean-Luc Godard is one of these celebrated directors. He's on those all. He's always on the Criterion lists. He always shows up in all these best of lists. He's one of these, new wave French filmmakers who
Hmm.
is heralded as being one of the greats, and like all his library of films is kind of maybe not quite up to the same standard as someone like Hitchcock, but it kind of is. If you go into art house, like foreign cinema fanatics, like he's kind of held up to that regard. And this was the fifth film of his I've seen. I saw Vivre sa vie, if I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that. I seen Contempt. I seen Breathless, and I seen another one. Or maybe it was only three before. This is the fourth. So this is the fourth film from Jean-Luc Godard that I've seen. I did not really like any of the previous three. So
Even Breathless, I heard Breathless is really good.
now, if anything, Contempt was the one that I liked the most. I had a bit more style for that, kind of gelled with me. Breathless did next to nothing for me, and I am someone who watches a lot of old movies, who watches a lot of foreign cinema. I'm not like some, like Michael Bay fan who's just stumbled onto the
Yeah.
Criterion app by accident. Um, and he's never done anything for me. It's just never worked for me. It's never clicked with me. I have honestly had the problem of being sleepy and like being knocked out by his films previously, to the point where the reason why I didn't fall asleep during Alphaville is because I came prepared. I came in with a giant can of Red Bull, and I sat and watched it with the light on to make sure I wouldn't fall asleep because I
Yeah.
knew I
It
would.
got cold and I grabbed a blanket and a pillow and
Rookie mistake.
it was just, yeah, classic mistake.
Rookie mistake. You never watch a black and white subtitled film with a blanket, a pillow, and possibly the lights off. I don't know if you did or not, but like these are all
Oh,
rookie
definitely
mistakes.
lights.
So I went into Alphaville kind of like, okay, this is a science fiction film. Maybe this is the Godard film that'll finally click with me, that I'll really get and I'll be really into, and I'll love it. And I'm sorry to say that I think I just really don't like Jean-Luc Godard.
Hey, that's okay.
I
I mean, I
I
can't say I blame you. It's a bit weird. And I think weird is like a really good one word description of the movie.
there's a
But it's
weird
got a real,
quality.
it actually has a lot of great ideas in it.
No, it's a great
And
idea. The premise, all the ideas, all the concepts it's playing with, all those
mhm.
things, solid. Execution, not for me.
Yeah, there's some changes that I would make just from watching it, even though I'm not like a director or whatever, but like, oh, it would have been better if he did it the other way or something. But or some scenes just kind of stay like they really are just begging for an edit,
hmm
like a cut. They just keep going.
And then there's sometimes
Um,
where he has these really harsh cuts that don't quite match up with the other shot, but he does them anyway.
yeah, there's a lot of weird close-ups.
hmm
It's very poetic. It's a lot of
So
poetry.
much poetry.
And I'm not anti-poetry. I know you are. Um,
Hold on, I'm not anti-poetry. There's a time and a place, okay? There's a time and a place, and
if it's not in a Superman comic, you don't care.
whoa, whoa,
Okay.
whoa, 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 whoa. Look, poetry on its own as poetry is fine, okay? Um, but this movie is filled to the brim, and honestly, it's not even the poet. The problem is that poetry sometimes I just like drone out of, and I can't pay attention after a while. Um, but that's especially true when it's in a different language, and it's especially true in the horrendous voice that most of the poetry in this is said. So Alpha 60's voice, the computer narrates a lot of this film. I hated his voice. Every time he started speaking, I wanted it to be over as soon as humanly possible. It was unpleasant
Yeah,
to listen
there
to.
is no special effects in this film at all. It's very much like just modern day, only we're told it's the future. And the ideas in it make it the future rather than
Yeah.
what you're seeing because
Which
everything is just very modern, like the clothes, the hair,
which
the makeup,
I'm
the
actually okay with.
buildings, the cars.
One of my favorite sci-fi movies, which I guess we'll do on this show at some point. I did it with Connor a while ago, but I mean we should do it at some point in this show. Is Stalker, and that movie is nothing but ideas. Like there's like
Yeah,
very little visually to actually show you that anything's happening. It is all about the ideas, and I am a-okay with that. I really am. But this voice,
sure,
this
but
stupid computer voice, it's
my
so.
yeah, my point is that because of that, like Godard just found a voice that sounded unusual, but it's not an effect. It's just a guy who smoked too much and has an artificial larynx or a voice box that he speaks through. But because it's a man who had like who's using a voice box for medical reasons, you
Yeah.
can hear him swallowing like all the time.
Yeah, you can hear him like his lips smacking. You can hear like the
hmm
just all the
And it
all.
is very much a mistake, I
Yeah, see,
think.
basically, anytime anyone does some like ASMR of just like
hmm
that, you can sort of hear that under his voice like all the time, and it is so
Right.
distracting. And the voice is so unpleasant to listen to. It's it's awful. I hate it. I hate it with every fiber of my being. And it's not like oh you hate it in that he's kind of the villain way, right? Like you kind of hate him and you want to see him get into. No. I hate listening to it. I want no part of it.
It's also mixed really poorly, the sound for it, like it's
Mm.
too loud and it comes from everywhere and it's I mean you can kind of get away with it because it's a pretty art house, almost student level film, but a little
Oh,
bit.
all the pretentious film snobs are going to be so angry at this review if they click on it.
Look, I'm sure he's a pro, but it's a, it's a type of film that I think you and I can make in our backyard or something, you know? There's no
Look,
special effects.
look, I don't like Godard. I am not going to say anything as bold to say that I can go out and make the movie. I mean, I'm glad you think I can. I am. I'm genuinely touched. But I'm not going to make that
You don't
claim.
think you can make this type of film?
I don't know if it'd come out. I need more experience, I think, before it'd come out.
I mean, it's barely passable as a movie.
You're the one who said you liked it at the start. This is
I do.
savage.
I like the ideas a lot.
This is
I like the
savage.
ideas. I like the characters. I like where it goes. Like overall, I'm positive, but I don't think it's great.
Tara says, I like this movie as she's just like, polishing her chainsaw, like getting ready to cut it down. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you.
Like Wing Commander, I know could also be described as barely passable as a movie, but this is like 100 times better than that.
No, for all its faults, there's someone with an idea behind this who's trying to like really say something.
Yeah.
I don't like the execution, but that alone makes it better than Wing Commander, which is just a studio said, we want a movie with that name, so go make it. And someone went and made it, and that was
Yeah.
it. And no one at any point in this movie goes, shh, there's a destroyer hunting us. But at least in this movie, this would have made more sense. Maybe we'd have been like, oh, is that like a robot the AI sent after them? A destroyer?
Mm.
Oh, yes, be
A
quiet.
level 3 destroyer,
Level 3 destroyer.
seduction class.
Seduction class. Yes. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot to dive into with that stuff as well.
Mhm.
It's just saying it is outright saying things about gender and even about nationality. It makes some weird digs at some countries at one point, including America.
Oh yeah. Our lead actor is American.
He is,
He's an
yeah.
expatriate.
Well, they wanted apparently he wanted like a that pulpy American noir looking hero to be the lead.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of told this to you before, but I kind of think Godard is one of the first like Kevin Smiths in the movie industry. He's clearly a fanboy. Even like the names that he chooses for people, like
Oh, we'll talk
Professor
about
Nosferatu.
Professor Nosferatu is the one that stuck out to me as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
dear.
I see a lot of things. Like our lead guy is very Bogart.
In fact,
He's very
hell,
Bogart without Bogart.
I'm
you
looking
know?
at the names here. There's also a Professor Jekyll.
Yeah, Professor Heckle and Jekyll. A lot of the
Oh.
names I would scrap and redo if this were my film in my
Uh,
backyard.
oh no, they should have went all in this. Like, I love Leonard Nosferatu. Leonard Nosferatu. Listen to that name. That's a great name.
Leonard Nosferatu. That would be the name of my son.
I should go change my name. I should change my last name legally to Nosferatu. I just love the
I wonder if
idea.
that will get you anything, like if you make a reservation at a restaurant for Nosferatu. If you're like right by the exit, or
The judge will always do. Anyone who gets who Nosferatu is, because it's not like everyone. I mean, sure, movie fans know Nosferatu is Dracula, but I love the idea that if I go to a restaurant and they see my name is Nosferatu, they'll always offer me wine just so I can say I never drink wine. Oh dear. So it can't go away. So this is very much your dystopian satire of a film. It's very much doing things that Big Brother would do. Not that I've ever seen or read Big Brother, but I'm familiar with the general idea of Big Brother. Fahrenheit 451.
yeah, very Orwellian.
To go with something a bit more newer, and this is maybe showing my almost exact age by saying this movie, but if anyone who around the age of 10 to 13 saw Equilibrium, that's maybe the more modern
Yeah, I
take
thought
on
of that
this.
movie a lot, actually.
Yeah. And again, Jean-Luc all the film snobs are going to hate me when I say this, but I was wishing I was watching Equilibrium halfway through this thing.
Yeah, I was not.
I was like, yeah, where's Christian Bale and his Gun Kata? I want Gun Kata, damn it.
Yeah, I think Equilibrium, I mean, I'm sure we'll do it on the channel, but
Oh yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
first I I remember like an ex-boyfriend being like, "This is my favorite movie, and this guy's going to play Batman, and I can't wait, and I want you to watch it, and I want you to love it." And I watched it, and it's like, yeah, it's good.
No.
But again, it's one of those like the ideas are there, but it's
Oh
just
sure.
kind of hokey and
Well, 2 points. 2 points I want to make. One is that director who made that movie has done nothing but garbage since, and two, I have not seen it in like 15 years, so I don't know if it actually holds up. I might watch that and be like, oh, like.
I don't know if it holds up, but the ideas did stick with me from
Sure.
the film, from watching it, because I mean, I thought about it a lot when I watched this movie
Yeah.
for obvious comparisons.
Yeah, and the bad guy's Robert the Bruce from Braveheart. I remember that. An Equilibrium.
I don't remember that. I remember Christian Bale in a trench coat and his slick back haircut from what's that movie? American Psycho.
Would you think they just got the same hairstylist? Hey, we liked what you did in American Psycho. Could you just do it again, please?
The slick back.
Yeah. Sean Bean's in that movie. Spoilers, he didn't make it. So
We were gonna watch it.
Sean Bean dies in everything. Oh dear.
One day, Sean Bean. One day.
One day you'll make it to the end credits. I love the idea of having Sean Bean in a movie, him making it to the end credits, but then doing a mid-credits scene where he dies. You thought he did it. You thought he got out
I
of
saw
this movie
a
alive.
list of like actors who have died the most in films, and he wasn't number one. I think like Christopher Lee was number one.
Yeah, well, he
But
was
it
in
could
like,
just be because Christopher Lee's done like 600 films.
yeah, he's been in hundreds of movies, so that's why.
Yeah, but I think Sean Bean was like number two.
And I'm pretty sure Christopher Lee probably played a villain most of the time, and more often than not, the villains will die by the end.
Yeah.
Where
And do
Sean,
you count Dracula? I mean,
he's
since he's always
undead.
dead.
I mean, yeah, because you still kill him, because they still clearly say that staking the vampire is how you kill the vampire, so I would still count it as a death.
Okay.
The thing with Sean Bean though is that even like he still plays maybe more often than not heroes or good characters,
Yeah,
and still dies.
The tragic loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the ones you think you could trust.
Not that he's never a villain. He's occasionally a villain, but he's often still the tragic. Yeah, like he's the one who dies to show that the stakes are real.
Mm-hmm.
Bad news for Dracula. That's a great joke. I'm here all week. Go to patreon.com if you want to support more of that material. I'll keep it coming. So, yeah. What else you want to talk about spoiler free?
Mm, I don't know.
Good
Yeah,
answer.
there's a lot of ideas presented. There are some just truly bizarre scenes that I don't really understand, even in the context of the film. Like it. Okay, there's a scene with the synchronized swimmers in a pool. That even if you really like the movie, you have to be kind of scratching your chin, going, "What am I watching?"
The worst part about that scene, I think, is that it doesn't actually properly make it really clear what's happening. And I think if you actually got more brutal with how you showed that scene, I think it'd be the best scene in the movie, and it would be so like,
Maybe, but it's so impractical
oh
that it
yeah,
doesn't make any sense for like for a nation or a culture that worships logic. This is so illogical.
yes, yes. How long until you make a Spock reference?
I know, right? Oh, I'm going to be talking about Vulcans.
Oh, I'm sure you will be. The Vulcan comparisons will be coming up soon. Don't you worry, folks.
Hmm.
Dear. And for the record, I want to make it clear that I really tried to like this movie. I was not going in with a bad mood. I went in really optimistic, hoping that I would
Hmm.
connect with it. And I tried
Yeah.
to, early on,
You
I
like a
was
lot of bad, weird, like art house films.
squeeze me. Name one. What was this bad art house movie I like?
Drive.
Drive is not a bad art house movie. You are on your own. You are on that hill on your own.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you are. Drive is
What's the audience
phenomenal.
score on Rotten Tomatoes for Drive?
Oh, it's
Just
high.
curious.
It's it's high. I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna find it myself as well. I don't trust you to be accurate with this.
Well, I'm not a liar. You all right? Do I lie? I don't lie.
You lie all the time. You lied about Meet the Robinsons being animated,
I didn't lie about that.
neglecting
I
to
just didn't
mention
even I
things.
thought you already knew. Like I figured you would look at the poster or something.
Okay, 92
Yeah,
percent.
so it's 79.
Yeah, 92% certified fresh from the critics, and then 79% from the audience. That is a solid score for Drive. That is critically and commercially acclaimed.
Well, Jim Shembry of The Age, Australia, says it's ultra-violent, ultra-tedious bargain basement ripoff of the classic 1978 Walter Hill film The Driver. Couldn't have said it better myself.
You've never heard of The Driver, so shut your mouth. And I love that you're going to this one weird Australian guy. You're like, oh, this Australian guy's got my back.
Yep.
Is Alphaville not on Rotten Tomatoes? It was. Oh, look at that! It's 1% lower than Drive. Although the audience rating scores higher. But that's only because the only people who have rated it on Rotten Tomatoes are art house, pretentious film people. Because no one else... See, the thing with Drive is that there'll be a ton of, your Michael Bay
Yeah.
fans and your average Joes who are mad they watched it and went and gave
Right.
it a 1 out of 10.
People who wear the helmets that have the beer can on either
Yes.
side.
Yes.
And...
Yes. They go and sort of review
Why is
bomb
this
it.
movie called Drive? All we do is sit. Hey, that lady's got big boobs. 3 stars.
I mean, yeah,
Mostly flat. I like that.
mostly flat.
Hmm.
We're definitely not still talking about Christina Hendricks.
Definitely not.
Look, I'm not trying to rain anyone's parade. Like, it's become very clear to me after 4 Godard films that I just don't like the guy's work. They're all, and it's not so much that I can't like art house, stylized stuff. It's not like I don't like some other films that are a bit more
Hey,
abstract.
when we
Or
reviewed 12 Monkeys, we reviewed Le Jeté, and you love that.
oh, that was great. Yeah, that was really hitting a sweet spot. I think Goddard just goes.
Maybe you would like Godard if he was like 26 minutes long for a film.
I don't think so. I think Godard just goes a couple of steps too far with his like because this whole poetry thing that I was complaining I have kind of alluded to complaining about is that it's something I remember having a problem with all of his films. I remember his characters just going on and on and on, and being frustrated and not feeling like they're really saying much of anything. And I'm sure there's people who sit there and like think, oh, they're waxing lyrically and this is beautiful stuff and this is great dialogue. And I am just sitting there going, shut up and get on with the plot. Sometimes
It is very poetic. Like, and even the computer Alpha 60, who is supposed to be a computer, speaks very poetically. But I think it's just the way he writes everybody, all of his characters. Like they have a certain cadence to them that when they speak, it just kind of comes out like poetry.
Yeah.
But I kind of like it. I don't know. Like
That's fair.
I was getting into it wasn't enough to be confusing or like, yeah, it's definitely a cultural thing, but I think it still transcends the culture, the ideas in this film anyway.
So,
the things that I don't like about it are like, I don't like the fanboy stuff.
Sure.
Because that just kind of takes me out. And I don't love the voice either, of course. And there's a lot of it.
There's so much of it, and you're right, it is so loud. I think that's the problem with it. It's not just that I don't like it, is that it's like mixed just a few decibels higher than everything else all the time. Although I do love that you were just saying, I was just correct. You went on to a new point, but I want to go back here and just crack a joke. How much you love the poetry in this barely shouldn't film standard of filmmaking.
I think the writing's pretty good.
Sure.
I like the dialogue a lot.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating because the ideas for me like are solid. Like, obviously, all these things like the idea of a computer controlling a society, everyone being kind of just docile and going along with it. The idea of like certain words being outlawed. None of the characters know what love is. When he brings up love, the character's like, "What's that? Love?
Mm-hmm.
Love?
Amor?"
I don't know what is that. Would you like to have sex now? Like, no, love. Because like he arrives in town at the start, and basically the woman who shows him up to his room, his hotel room, like basically just starts undressing and is like, right, would you like to have sex now? And he's like, this isn't working, me. Get out. Like, what are you doing? And
then smacks her in the butt, though.
Yeah. But then there's like a really weird like fight scene where someone attacks him. There's a lot of really weird oddities right early on, and I wasn't necessarily out of the film yet at this point. But once because I was getting some of the, because early on there's a couple of moments where you feel like maybe he's being watched, like everyone's kind of dangerous. There's like a scene like where he's in a phone booth and there's like someone in the phone booth next to him who's kind of like paying attention to him. There's just this sort of air of like like tension that your typical.
Yeah, it's there to remind you who's a spy.
Yeah, but like honestly, by the time it gets to like the first time he actually speaks to Alpha 60, from that point on, it's just a lot of like overly long scenes of dialogue that just I just don't enjoy the dialogue. I just don't. And for the record, yes, even though I'm reading the subtitles and I'm not listening to the French, like no, that still applies. Like the dialogue can still be an issue even through subtitles. It can just be, I don't know, the pacing of it, the way it's written, the way it flows just isn't working for me. It reminds me, that's going to sound like a weird comparison, but it reminds me a lot of a comic book writer I really don't like called Jonathan Hickman. And it's not that he's poetic like this. He doesn't write like Jean-Luc Godard, but in the way that I just hate his comics because I just hate his dialogue and I hate reading his text. And I think Jean-Luc Godard is very similar for me. Is that I can get down with a lot of the weirdness. I can get down with a lot of weirdness. It can give it a nice tone.
It seemed a lot less weird the second time that I went through these scenes.
Sure.
Because it was also establishing a lot of the world. Because it's we're watching something that looks like it was filmed like in the 1960s, like during the 1960s. Like we're watching a 1960s movie that takes place there. Unless, something tells us, oh, it's not actually that. Because all we have to go on is the dialogue. Because otherwise everything just looks like it did in the 60s. So I like that, when somebody gets killed, nobody cares because nobody has any emotion. Like the woman who's in the bathtub with him, somebody dies and she doesn't bat an eye. It's like the first sign that we get that things are a bit weird or different.
Yeah, I think the first thing for me is that no one really cares about how Rudy's being because he's kind of a dick to everyone
Yeah.
when he meets them.
He's also French. Like,
so that's kind of the first thing for me that something's kind of off. Yes. Now, can I recommend Henry Georges Clouzot as a French director that I think is well worth checking out? Diabolique was previously mentioned. He also did Wages of Fear and The Murderer Lives at 21. All three of those movies actually are all fantastic, and I recommend them all.
I think you mean fantastique.
Fantastic. Sorry. Oui.
Oui.
Ah, dear. Just don't eat any escargot.
Ugh.
Don't do it.
I did. I've tried it. I've tried it twice.
Oh.
And both times I was like, I know I'm supposed to like this, but I also know I'm eating insects.
No,
That's
it's the same with caviar. I feel like the biggest con job on the planet is some idiots convinced everyone that caviar was this delicacy that they should charge like a fortune for, but it's like, no, this is disgusting. Why you why are you eating caviar? Stop it.
Yeah, not a fan. I mean, I don't eat that stuff anymore anyway, but like, I was never a fan before.
I'll
I
eat
ate
that.
caviar in Russia with vodka and went, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it was still gross. They have like these little poppy things.
Oh, I don't like it. Oh. Like, I'm really fussy with eating, and all just hearing about this is making me. I'm just. Anyway, all right, we're ready to go to spoilers on that note. So,
I think so.
So we'll give you the spoiler warning. Before we get into spoilers, though, Tara is going to tell you how you can keep all these episodes coming and existing and things.
Why, sure. If you like what we do, you can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MilefuzzTV. And going there, you can donate as little as $1 per month and you get a bunch of free stuff. Well, you know what I mean.
Your concept of capitalism is really broken.
I'm just the perfect consumer. Anyway, yeah, check it out. You get bonus episodes of The Ace if you like what we do. You can check out the Trancers trilogy or quadrilogy or saga, whatever it is.
Oh, just to clarify, we've done 2 of them so far.
We've done 2.
Yes, but
I'm sure the 3rd is coming up pretty soon. I have to know the next adventure of Jack Death.
I think we have to do at least a couple of other episodes before. I think January might be when we do Trancers 3.
Okay, so sign up for Patreon so you don't miss out on Trancers 3. Something Jack Death.
3 of 6, might I add. There's 6 of these bad boys.
Oh boy.
I know. But we also did Judge Dredd, 1995 Judge Dredd. We also did Time Cop. We did Robo Vampire.
Yeah, that one's a mess.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Okay, so the movie opens with him arriving in town, and he, as we say, goes to the hotel, has this weird fight scene. The computer voice, the Alpha 60, does talk to the people occasionally through these little speakers that they can talk to. I almost got the impression he thought it was like just like the hotel management or something at first, because he just sort of picks it up and says, "Nah, I don't need this right now," or "Thank you," or whatever.
Yeah, it gives you the impression that the one computer controls everything. It's kind of like Google. It's omnipresent. Like even when they're walking down, I don't remember which scene it is. I think it's later on, but there's like a hallway with doors on it, and it tells you if somebody's occupied that room until you get to like a vacant one. So it's like everywhere. Like it's calling people.
It treats it like a rhythm because they're walking down this hallway, and every time it goes past one, it says occupied, 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 and eventually it's like vacant or whatever, and it does create this rhythm to it. Again, that's one of those little stylistic things that I can kind of get in board with. Although I do hate the voice still.
It's just so jarring because of the voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the beginning we get like the voices aren't opening narrator. And when we see our protagonist, let me caution.
So it starts off on the wrong foot immediately.
Yeah.
Here's this voice. It's so great. If I wanted to listen to a dying French man, I'd have I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder how difficult it was to find a Frenchman that had its voice removed because of throat cancer. Probably not very hard, seeing as how many people smoke all the time in this film.
Oh yeah, France is particularly known for that, I think. But yeah. So the
They
movie,
love the cigarette.
so he tries to meet this other guy, this guy who came here earlier, this investigator or whoever, maybe a reporter, and that's Dixon, Henry Dixon, and he has been kind of mind wiped or mind washed, or he's been integrated into society, and he finally runs into him, and he's at like this little brothel or whatever it is, and he takes the prostitute upstairs with him. She's a level 3 seductress. We keep hearing level 3 seductress, and he tells him some stuff. Like he's willing to talk about it to a point, but ultimately he's been defeated by this place, and he's completely, because one of the things that the main woman we meet, Natasha von Braun, or however you pronounced it before. I was just going to call her Natasha, but Natasha von Braun. She keeps telling them, "Oh, you have to remember to go to civic control or whatever the place is called." It's like this. It sounds like, oh, that's where you go to get brainwashed. That's where you go to get your individuality stamped out from you, so you'll integrate into the town. And he keeps kind of like putting it off and doesn't want to go. But this Dixon actually dies. Well, because he starts like going for it with this prostitute right in front of Caution. And he dies. He has a heart attack, like, very early on. I mean, we could talk about premature ejaculation. This was premature cardiac arrest, because this was very early on in the process. So there was not much time to get excited, I didn't think. I thought premature...
Well, we see that he is sick already,
I thought premature cardiac arrest was a good joke. I am so sorry. Tara no-sold the whole thing. I'm sure someone at home thought that was funny. All right.
I raised an eyebrow.
That was a quality joke. Anyway, what was your point? You continue.
Well, we see that he's sick, like, from the beginning, because one of the things, like, he's using a room. Presumably he's been staying there for a little bit. I don't know if it's like a brothel hotel, because the guy at the front desk is like, "Are you going to commit suicide already?" Because apparently suicide happens all the time, because some people just can't deal with this place.
Very high.
And it's not a big deal if people commit suicide anyway. Nobody believes in religion or happiness or sadness. So
and they also
people just do it if it's the logical thing to do.
No, but they also said that suicide and execution, because they're executed if they do anything illogical. But suicide and execution, there's 50 men are executed or commit suicide for every one woman who does it, and
so presumably men have a really hard time with adapting to this. Yeah,
the implication is quite negative in a sexist way. It's basically saying, "Oh, women will conform. They'll conform and just do what they're told." Much easier than the men. The men will question things and like try and sort of fight through it. But so
maybe it's like a cultural thing. Like maybe French men just really appreciate art and poetry more, and they're like, "We can't give these up," because that's basically what they all say when we get to the execution scene. Is that every guy makes an announcement about how remember the things you used to love, or poetry. Those are the things that matter.
Yeah, it's art
instead
and
it's
music and things, and yes. So yeah, and they also mention that some outsiders who come in who get converted. Americans, I think Germans was another one. Like they listed like 3 or 4 countries where they take to it really easily, whereas other countries do not.
Maybe it's just like countries that are known for their military, because military has that kind of attitude of conforming.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I can
being
see that.
Uniform.
I can see that being the logic behind it. So yeah, we have to talk about the execution scene, because the execution scene, there's a man who's walked onto a diving board at a swimming pool, and there's a crowd watching, watching from up in the balcony.
Very, very important people.
And he's shot because he's talking about art and music and how they should cherish it and how they need their feelings and blah blah blah. And after he gets shot, though, he doesn't die on the gunshot. he is finished off by a team of swimmers who jump in the pool and stab him to death. And this is what I was talking about earlier. See if they like showed this us, because you don't necessarily really get to see it all that well.
No, it's sort of implied like you told me that this was happening before my second watch of it, and when I watched it, I went, "Oh, okay," because you can see the swimmer in the front, the closest one to the camera. You can see her like spinning a knife around, like she's ready to do some stabbing.
And if you folks at home have never watched any like Olympic swimming or anything like that, traditionally speaking, they don't go into the pool with knives. They don't you don't see them stand at the edge of the pool.
Although I would watch that.
Extreme swimming, it's combat.
Synchronized swimming is usually the part that I skip in the Olympics.
I'm sure it takes a lot of effort.
No, diving is insane. But yeah, synchronized swimming. Skip.
So let's just make a list of people you've offended on this episode. Fans of Drive, pretentious art house film fans,
the French,
and now synchronized swimmers.
Yeah.
Oh, what a list.
I like the
movie. You like the movie, but it's barely passable as a film. We could do this in our backyard.
Yeah.
Direct quote.
Put it on the Blu-ray.
Put it on the Blu-ray.
If Criteria wants my commentary, they can call.
Hey, I'll do commentary tracks for any company. I'll sit and watch a movie and talk about it for 2 hours. Easy peasy. Hey, Joe should call us.
What do you do every day?
Joe should call us for a commentary track. We should do some special edition commentaries for the first 2 Terminator movies. We could do that.
It'll just be you. All you do is talk about Terminator. You know so much more than me.
Now you can talk about Terminator.
I do love it. But I'll just be there and be like, yep.
No,
right.
No. I made that mistake during that first Terminator review. I will prod you to make the points. I will moderate and let you...
we both had the same score. And you had clearly made this, like... case for Terminator many times before and studied every scene and frame, so it was more like, yeah, you got it.
Yes, but me hogging the microphone during that review was a fault of me. That was a fault of me hosting.
Okay,
which is why, notably in Terminator 2 onwards, I was intentionally holding back. I know that I really had to try in Terminator 3. Tara came into that review very passionate.
Yeah, I hated it.
Waiting to, she had the chainsaw was being polished
right
at the start of that review. I keep saying that. There was during the movie me and Tim did on the stream. On the stream we did for Octoberthon, me and Tim watched a movie called Pieces. With the folks at home. There's a scene in that, and I keep saying you're polishing your chainsaw. There's a scene in that where the killer's killing people with chainsaws, and there's like a red herring like gardener character who's like using a chainsaw to like trim the hedges and the bushes. And there's a moment where he's like just like wiping his chainsaw, but he's sort of smelling like really pervy as he's doing it, and it's meant to be really phallic looking. And every time I've said you're just polishing your chainsaw, all I can think in my head is this fat gardener like yeah.
Masturbating with the chainsaw. Yeah.
Oh dear. That movie's a treat, by the way. If anyone's not watched Pieces from 1982, it is a treat.
Maybe I'll check it out.
So bad it's amazing. Delightful.
I like those.
So yes, the execution scene's there. He goes to see Alpha 60 eventually, and yeah, these scenes. Oh, every scene he went to talk to Alpha 60, I was struggling.
I don't know. These scenes were all right, and they kind of reminded me of like Decker in interrogating the what are they called? Are they called synthetics in Blade Runner?
Replicants. We
haven't watched it yet, even though this review might come up after.
Yes, Blade Runner is going to go out before this one, even though we said this one was next. But that's
Well, anyway, it kind of reminded me of those scenes.
Sure, I could see that.
With the interrogation being more about philosophy than it is about like logic.
I don't mind that idea, but I hate the voice, of course, and I hate the dialogue. But
right.
the one thing
I like that. but I hate the voice.
The one thing that really bugged me about these scenes, though, because it was just this pointless little thing to make it feel more futuristic or weird, but it just felt so stupid to me, is that there's like 3 microphones for him to like capture his audio for the computer, and they're constantly moving back and forth a little bit, and I'm like, why? This accomplishes nothing. This does nothing. This is just to look weird. Like, why would they be moving?
Well, that would be consistent.
That one bugged me though, because it felt so like.
There are a lot of like super corny looking scenes. There's one where he's in like an elevator with like a couple of thugs who are beating him up, but instead of like showing him being punched, it's just him going ah.
Oh yeah.
Back and forth.
It looks really cheesy. You're right. So one of the big things that happens then is that obviously they want to convert him, but he actually says a riddle to the Alpha 60, the computer, which it can't solve because it's too human. It's too, like you have to.
Remind you of anything?
No, actually, what were you thinking of? I'm sure.
That's
There's some.
how Captain Kirk defeats.
Oh, you're right. You're right. No, I know the exact episode you're talking about.
His name. Ah, the computer.
Oh, is this the one where it comes on board and is floating around, or is this the one where it's just in the room at the end of the episode? Because
there's a couple, right? Because there's one that wants to kill all humans because it's humans are illogical or something, and then there's one that's just like a room with a computer in it. Yeah, that is like running society.
Yeah, I think the computer running society.
It's this unit must die, and then like smoke comes out of it and sparks.
Yeah, yeah.
Wasn't the one just presents it with an illogical problem?
Wasn't the one in the room, the computer in the room though? Wasn't that one like wasn't that like making 2 people fight? Like, wasn't that like a war it was doing? I want to say.
Maybe I can't remember.
I could be mixing that up with another episode though, where there's a computer making 2 people, two like cultures fight. But anyway.
Yeah, there's a similar one in Next Generation which has James Cromwell in it.
Nomad. Isn't Nomad the name of one of them?
Nomad! That's it.
Proof that Tara doesn't listen to me, I had to say that a second time. Just putting that out there.
Oh yeah, I don't listen to you. I'm barely a co-host.
You should listen to me. I make some very fine points.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Need I remind you that you started being on these shows because you were a fan? Might I remind you?
You have no proof.
What do you mean no proof? I literally, in fact, the very stream you drunkenly asked to be a part of something is archived, and you can watch it and see you type out.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah.
I believe I started this show and asked you, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds like me. I don't drink.
You don't drink. Oh, can I recommend everyone go check out the top 50 movies as voted for by the Male Fuzz TV community, parts 1 and 2?
That was acting. I'm just very good.
That wasn't Tara, honey. That was CGI.
That was CGI.
I've warmed up. I had a blanket over my legs because I was cold, but I've warmed up a little bit. I was uncomfortable. All right. We're out of the business now. So, basically, the computer can't solve the riddle because it requires to admit that, it can't just be purely logical, essentially. And basically, this starts to affect the town. People in the town start, like, malfunctioning. Like, they're sort of, like, rolling against the walls and just can't really walk properly. And, like, the computer struggling with this is, like, making everyone in the town act like nincompoops. Let's just call it what it is. And we do eventually meet the professor who built the computer. This is Von Braun, whose name's actually Leonard Nosferatu, but changed his name. The exact phrase is that Leonard Nosferatu doesn't exist anymore, but...
See, I knew it was him because he was wearing sunglasses.
Oh. he
In every picture that we have of him, he's wearing sunglasses for some reason.
he tries to basically convince Caution to let everything go, and even offers them like, hey, if you let us do our thing, because they want to invade the outer countries, because they think the outer countries will eventually try and stop them, which is actually true, because that's
Well,
why he's
because
here.
they're being illogical, right? They don't have this. It would be the logical thing to invade other countries that are illogical.
No, but they explain it at one point. They're actually worried about them trying to come and stop them and stop Alphaville, which is true, because that's what Caution's here for. He's here to destroy Alpha 60, so they're not wrong. But
look how much damage one person has done.
But when he's saying this, he's like, "Hey, let us do our thing, and you can have a galaxy." And it's unclear exactly what he means by that. If he just means galaxy is a word he's using to mean a country, or if he's actually legitimately saying we're going to take over a galaxy.
See, there was a point where I thought that this was like another planet, and like where Lemmy comes, Lemmy Caution comes from is from like another world.
Yeah, because the way they kept talking about outer countries, it was making me think of other planets as well. I was wondering if there was actually space involved.
But he does drive into Alphaville, so I guess.
And also,
I guess they are just all on Earth.
And one of the reveals as well is the love interest, Von Braun, the daughter, because this is the daughter of the main bad guy. She kind of vaguely remembers at one point that she's actually, because she's been like conditioned to think she's from Alphaville and she's always been here, but it turns out she's actually from New York. Like that's something that's brought up, so that sounds like they're on Earth.
She's from New York, but they don't say New York. They say like
Nueva York.
Nueve York or something, which is Nueve is not a French word; it's like a Spanish word.
Yes,
implying that there's a different New York. There's like a New York, like in Futurama.
Or she's just using the Spanish name for New York, maybe.
But why would they do that? It's an American city.
Because Jean-Luc Godard is a pretentious weirdo. That's why.
See, for me, maybe it was just me thinking that it's either the very distant future or like another planet.
What's so weird is that I love David Lynch. I watch David Lynch, and he is definitely, and I say this lovingly, a pretentious weirdo. And I love everything he does,
sure.
right?
I don't hate pretentious weirdos if they can make great art.
Right. But here's the thing. David Lynch's stuff is far more weird and confusing than Jean-Luc Godard has been in the 4 that I have seen of his films. But I find David Lynch's scenes very easy to watch. I find them to go down like butter. They just are so enthralling and engaging and like interesting and like kind of hypnotic. And this, do
you think some of this might just be a translation issue?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because I watch tons of other stuff that's in French or any other language. And I love movies that are in
I guess. I mean, it is from another time and another language, so who knows?
Yeah, but I've seen other French movies from like this era that I like. I mean, it's not like, You
do know that this movie came out in 1965? And 2001 came out in 1968. Could they look any different?
That may be the most forced reference to anything ever that you've ever made.
No, I think it's relevant. I think these movies look like they're 50 years apart.
Oh yeah, well, see, when I first got the 2001 Blu-ray, back when I first sort of switched to HD, and like 2001 was in the middle.
My very first Blu-ray.
It wasn't my first, but it was in my first 10 because I think Batman Begins was first. And then they'd released a lot of the Kubrick movies, Warner Brothers, like all the ones they own, like very early. So I actually got like 2001, Clockwork Orange, The Shining,
Full Metal
Jacket, and I think one other one that they do. But I got all of them basically at the same time within like the first 10 of my discs. So in the first month, because I got a Blu-ray player and a projector at the time. I was ready to go. I was like, yes, all the Blu-rays I can get my hand on.
Yeah.
And see, when I watched 2001 on Blu-ray for the first time.
It's like it was filmed yesterday. It's so beautiful.
In 2008. Yeah, that was my exact thought, as I thought, this looks like it was filmed last year.
Yeah.
That's how good this looks.
And the restoration of it, like you can read what the signs say, like in the bathrooms, like how to use the bathroom in like the spaceship and space station and stuff. Or like, wow, there's so much detail in there that you can actually read now.
It's a beautiful movie. If it wasn't for the hairstyles and some of the clothes, you would think it was shot last year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
On that Blu-ray, it is insane.
It suffers from that 70s color palette a lot, but That's right. I like it. I love it. It's the greatest.
Oh, was this your favorite movie of all time? Of course you're going to say, say
It,
that.
it was my first Blu-ray. I bought that and Master and Commander at the same time.
Whoa.
Both excellent Blu-rays.
Do I have Master and Commander?
You should add it to your Amazon wish list.
I do like it.
Maybe Santa Claus will bring it to you.
I don't think I do. I don't think I do, but I do have 2001. There's also a nice big 4K TV on my Amazon wish list should anyone want to treat me.
I'll get one of those in 15 years.
So what did I want to talk about next? So yeah, so basically, so here's the big thing that I think really hurts the film for me in terms of it not working for me, because there's definitely parts of it I kind of like and ideas that I like, obviously, as it's going on, and it lost me more and more as it went. And I think one of the reasons why it lost me by the time I got halfway through is the supposed romance between Caution and Von Braun. I don't buy this for a second. I think they have zero chemistry. At one point, he just starts talking about her as if he's in love with her.
I think it makes sense that she's kind of robotic. Because everyone's on tranquilizers.
Well, yeah, but why is he falling in love with her?
Because she's freaking gorgeous. She's a beautiful sphinx or whatever.
That's not enough for love. That's not enough to what I like. I don't know. I didn't buy it. Oh, come on.
You would not fall in love with her? I sort of did. The woman is a stunner.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I didn't feel it.
I don't buy. I mean, I guess I can kind of buy her falling for him because he's got like the Bogart thing going on, but also he's unusual. He's the mysterious guy. He's the James Spader in the Stargate world.
But
right?
but that's the thing though, is that the entire crux of the emotional arc of the film is that she sort of slowly gets her humanity back, and the final line of the film is her saying, "I love you."
That I love you, yeah, and that's because of him. Like he gets the book of poetry from Dixon, who dies. He gives it to him, and then he gives it to her, and she's like, "This is familiar, but it goes against everything I know."
I think this is simultaneously. It doesn't spend enough time on the relationship for me to give a shit about her caring about him at the end. But at the same time, the scenes with them, where it revolves around this, go on forever. And that scene where they're sitting having breakfast and they're talking about, like, you know, words being banned in the dictionary that gets rewritten every day. Like, oh my god, that scene felt like it would never end. I hated it.
Hold on.
Timing, Gus. End of my sentence. I was queuing Tower up for a response. I shall simply stall with nothing but fluff until Tara gets back. Oh, that's Tara.
Sorry. So rudely interrupted.
Silly
cat.
But
yeah, I mean, you're right. They do go on kind of long, but I don't hate it. Like I like the idea of him being the one that brings back passion and the one who brings back the idea of love. And the first, when she understands what love is, she falls in love with the man who introduced it to her. I think that makes sense.
No, on paper that does make sense. I just don't feel it in the movie. Like I feel like this movie is prime for a remake. I'm serious when I say this. Like this movie could...
Oh yeah, I would be on board for that.
This movie.
Hey, let's make it in the backyard.
Let's make it in the backyard. Yeah, sounds like a plan. It wouldn't even surprise me if it has been remade already.
I think Equilibrium is kind of like a remake. It's a lot of the same ideas. There's no swimming death, but that's right. Death by synchronized stabbing.
That's the first thing they have to do. Has there been a remake? No, influence. That's what I want. There's both an influences and an influence section. There's a lot of influences.
On what? Wikipedia?
Yeah. Talks about 1984. Which, obviously, this is pre-1984, the year, but the book 1984 was written in the 40s, so did exist. Yeah,
I think you could see some Big Brother dystopian future elements from that.
Yeah. The music video for 2005, Kelly Osbourne's song One Word, is a homage to Alphaville.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even realize Kelly Osbourne did her own music.
Yeah, she had a bit of a music thing for a little while. It was short-lived.
In fact, the music video for the song "Linger" by the Irish rock band the Cranberries uh, was also influenced by the film. So a few music videos have been influenced by it.
Any movies?
I'm not seeing any.
Well, I mean, I think we can already answer that. Like clearly Equilibrium, and I think Blade Runner has a little bit of Alphaville in it.
I can see that. I can see
I
that.
actually see a bit of Soylent Green in it too, which we haven't done yet, and around it's around this time. It's a 60s film, right?
So yeah, the ending is, he goes and gets hurt. There's when the town starts acting weird, like, everyone's being like, there's that weird fight scene. Everyone's like rolling against the walls. There's like negative imagery that's used where it goes negative and it has that sort of harsh, bright effect.
Yeah, that was confusing at first. I think it's trying to say that there's just like a malfunction
hmm
amongst the world.
Things are flipped, inverted,
Hmm.
upside down. Left is right, up is down,
Black is white.
black is white. Literally.
This is the negative.
Yeah. But he goes and grabs her. Meanwhile, Alpha 6 is just like melting into itself because it can't solve this damn riddle. I don't know. And that's basically the end of the movie.
Computers.
I mean, the stuff we kind of glossed over is a lot of the scenes with him and her sort of talking about dictionaries or talking about love or poetry, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add about the movie? For me, it all kind of blurs together once it get like past the opening introduction kind of act. A lot of the middle kind of blurs together for me.
We see a butt about midway through the movie. Glossed over that.
Uh,
I guess it's like a naked woman in a box.
yes.
So I think it's meant to tell us that she's not actually human because
Hmm.
they just kind of walk past her like she's an object, and I think that's telling us, oh, she's not human, she's a robot. That's what these sex women are. They're just robots. But hey, we get to see a butt. That's cool.
Oh yeah, highlight of the movie. I mean,
I wasn't expecting it.
but it's French. This isn't a '60s American film. This is a '60s French film.
Yeah, I think some of this dystopian future and like gender roles is something that I see in the film Soylent Green as well, which is why I brought it up. I kind of wanted to complete that thought.
Oh sure, go on.
Um, but yeah, that's basically it. I don't really want to talk too much about it because we haven't watched the movie yet for this. But I think when we talk about Soylent Green, I'll be bringing up Alphaville, and you probably will too.
No, no, that's definitely what I want to do. We have a long list of movie films to get to.
Indeed, we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. This is the thing. Like, people have written essays about like, I feel like I'm taking an easy path out by not like trying to dissect this one more, because this is a movie, that has a Criterion release. This is a movie that people write essays and make documentaries about and like dissect, bit to bit. But I feel like all those dissections probably probably hinder on the analysis of the poetry that's said constantly throughout the film, and I don't remember any of the poetry. It all just kind of goes in
It
one.
could be that people are just afraid to not like it.
Maybe because the poetry for me goes in one ear and out the other. I forget what they've said, pretty quickly for the most part. Once those scenes are done, I don't retain the information the way I do with actual dialogue, for whatever
Sure.
reason. I've always been that. It's the same with musicals. It's partly why I don't like musicals, is that I feel like I kind of like don't take in a lot of the information during the musical numbers.
Oh,
Plus,
well,
plus it's
I
also,
love musicals and I like to sing along with them. So, yeah, I guess I retain a lot more than you do when it comes to that. Um, I think you're right in saying that this
you've heard
movie's
me try to sing songs with lyrics. I don't retain them.
even songs that you love, you can't remember the words to. It's kind of
Yes.
funny,
The
the
Karate
way
Kid
you
song.
think that they are
Yeah, the
said.
Karate Kid song, but the one that sticks out in my head.
You're the best. The
Yes.
best.
Yes. I signed the
You don't even
chorus
say
from that.
around. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. Like it has to rhyme with down, but you still just say the best twice.
You're the best,
Don't make no
the
sense.
best. No one's ever gonna keep you down. That's just in my head. That's what it's always been. I don't know why. It makes sense that it's what you say it is, but I don't remember that. Well, let's rate this movie then. Let's rate the film. What are you giving it, T?
I think that this is a movie that's going to stick with us whether we like it or not. Because it is sort of a milestone in science fiction, and it has a lot of ideas that are going to be coming up later on.
Mm-hmm.
And we're probably going to reference it a lot. And maybe, who knows, by the time you watch a lot of other movies, you'll be like, Alphaville maybe is better than I thought. But that being said, I still have a lot, things about it that I didn't really like. I think it is prime for a remake. I think it's a movie that's ahead of its time, and that's why it should be remade. With special effects this time. And a voice. You can just cast a regular human voice or a robot voice, whatever you want. Anyway, I think it's a 7.
7.
Pretty high.
Yeah, this is a weird one because again, it's so well regarded, and this is a tough one. I always like every so often you hit one of those movies, once you realize you're into film and you start seeking out all these classic films. Every so often when you're going through all the classics, because you'll like most of them are classics for a reason, but every so often you hit one that you just don't like.
I don't really like Citizen Kane.
See, there you go. So
I don't get it. Like, I don't get the praise.
5 out of 10.
Oh, okay. I actually thought you were gonna go lower.
No, I can't like say it's like terrible filmmaking or anything like that. I get nothing out of it. This was tedious for me to get through. I was fighting sleeping with an energy drink. Like, I just don't like Jean-Luc Godard. I've tried. That's 4 of his movies now, and I've not liked any of them really. So,
Okay.
luckily it's his only sci-fi movie, so I don't have to watch any more of them.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I know, anyway. Before someone's going to comment, well, technically, Peter, there's this one which is technically science fiction. I'm like, well, tough. It'll just never happen. It's fine.
Nobody ever writes comments like that.
So that's been Alphaville. Yeah, not for me, unfortunately. Tara tried to be a bit more diplomatic, but
I mean, I like the ideas in it. I like the idea of a society in the future that worships logic and math. Because that's always been the appeal of the Vulcans, right? From the hit television show Star Trek. Is that they're basically humans, but they abandon emotion and religion. And is that still us? Or is it something that's alien? Yeah.
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes. Indeed.
Deep.
That line of thinking was completely logical.
It was, yeah.
Very good. No, but that
I promised I would bring up Vulcan, so I had to.
You did, yes. You never actually did during the discussion. You just kind of snuck it in at the end there because you're like, shit, I didn't fill my Vulcan quota.
Yeah.
I gotta put in more Vulcan talk. Where's the Vulcans?
Yeah.
I'm actually just getting up the schedule so I can tell everyone what's coming next time. Next time.
Is it a time movie?
It is not. It is the Patreon vote winner, which in this case is none other than Jurassic Park.
Patreons. I mean, there was no bad option. But
no, we kind of stacked.
I can't believe they didn't go with Star Wars.
After Wing Commander, we kind of stacked the deck because we really didn't want. We didn't want to be hit with another stinker. So, yes. And if you're a patron, Tara, you've done that to me. If you're a patron, At the $5 tier up, and you do have rights to vote, because that's the tier you have to be at to vote in the stuff. Not only in the Ace, but also in the Screams, you get access to a few votes. The vote should be up right now. I think this episode will be out, at least for patrons, before the end of the month. So the vote is for 4 1950s science fiction films. We've done another decade. We did the 30s a while ago. So do go.
We skipped the 40s.
We skipped the 40s because we tried to do the 40s and realised that there's not enough notable science fiction films in the 40s to even bother with doing so. I mean, the 30s didn't have a lot either. The 30s, like the 4 we picked for the 30s, were basically the only 4 we really could have picked. Whereas the 50s onwards, that's where it kind of, the genre explodes, and it's kind of like, okay, there's tons to pick from now.
Everyone's afraid of nuclear power, so we get a ton.
Yeah. So the 4 options on the vote right now are Forbidden Planet, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and War of the Worlds. So those are the 4 options from the 1950s vote. They're up on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV right now. You can go do that. So please do. Please do vote. Make sure you remember to do so if you're a patron. But yeah, so Patreon's a good way to support us, as mentioned earlier. You can also support us by rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. That lets more people find us, that kind of thing. You can get us on the Twitters at the Ace Podcast. You can like and subscribe, comment, let us know what you think of the movie. Do you disagree with us? Are you pretentious? Are you a film snob?
Have I offended you?
Has Tara offended you? Have I offended you? Because I mean, it's not like I was very positive about the movie.
I forgot to mention that there is a French film I like. I do like Amélie. You may continue. Emily. Yes. So you can go do that, comment, ding the bell, make sure you get the notifications, and yeah, that's basically it. So check out other stuff that we have on the channel. We do a horror movie podcast called Screams After Midnight that I do with Tim. Tara can offer one. If you like science fiction, you can check out our reviews of classic Twilight Zone that we've been doing. I'm sure by this time we're beginning season 2 finally.
Yeah, around this time, because we're a couple ahead in recording, so I don't know when it will go up in relation to this. But yeah, we're like at the time
we're either the end of season 1 or the beginning of season 2. So
yeah,
we are committed. 36 episodes in.
Yep. Woo. Yep, 36 episodes a season. Oh baby. So yeah, check out those. But that is us. That has been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. We're into the 30s ourselves on this show. This is a 30. I don't know, 3
Blade
or 4,
Runner?
something like that. What?
We have Blade Runner in between, so.
That's true, but even without that, it's hard to remember because when we do a theatre release, that bumps up the number by 1 extra. So,
oh yeah.
What's funny is that all my recordings for the Ace, like the numbers are actually like 2 behind now compared to what the actual episodes are when they go out, because we had these extra ones sort of slotted in, which is not that interesting for anyone. It's merely a little note that I've just chuckled at myself.
Okay. We're in episode 30-something.
30-something, yeah, 30-something. Which actually describes both of our ages. So, hey.
Why gotta bring that up?
I said both of us.
I don't understand why you need to bring it up. Just can't help yourself.
All right. Look on the bright side, though. Look on the bright side. Once we're out the 30s, I can never make that joke. And unless we're still doing it when we're both in our 40s, I can never do it again. Hell, by the time you're in our 40s, we'll be in episode 180 or something. Like, I can't make that joke anyway.
Yep.
So this is the only time that this period of 10 episodes is the only time I can crack this joke.
Mm-hmm.
But that is what us. That's Atomic Cinema Experiment. So we'll be back next time with Jurassic Park.
Woo!
Which, how many Hammond quotes am I going to do next week?
All of them. You must do all of them.
I need to get the full script out and do like every single line. But yes, next week you can indeed be welcomed to Jurassic Park.
Beautiful.
But we'll see you then. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching sci-fi movies, guys. And Alpha 60. That's salsa.
Yeah, yeah.